You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the...
What the hell's going on?
You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth, the show that reveals facts, truth, research, and statistics and never messes around. We lay down the entire truth about everything regarding your Detroit and Michigan sports teams, no matter if it's good or bad. No junk, no entertainment, no homerism, no coddling, no pop culture, no opinions, no shilling, and no fluff. Head over to our website at MichiganSportsTruth.com, follow us on Twitter at Michigan_Truth, and like our Facebook page, The Michigan Sports Truth. The hosts of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast do not take any suggestions or criticism from any member of its audience on how it should be run. It is up to the host to decide what they want to cover. They also do not intend to be any amount of popular in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Additionally, the views of the audience, right or wrong, do not reflect the actual truth revealed on this program.
Episode 2 of the midweek edition in session. Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith. How are we doing tonight? Ed?
Hello.
Yeah, hang on a second. Yep. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah, we're live.
All right. Sometimes technical things can happen on a live recording.
All right. Yeah, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing quite well, Taylor. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Why don't we go ahead and get started here? Got 6 teams to cover. But first off, we'll start with the Red Wings here. The Red Wings have officially retained Ken Holland, as we heard last week, Saturday. And now they've retained Jeff Blashill as their head coach.
Left side.
And that's because they kept Ken Holland. If they're going to keep Ken Holland, they might as well keep Jeff Blashill. And the main purpose of this is they want to rebuild. That's why Holland agreed to sign the 2-year extension prior to 2020. That's what Chris Ilitch was asking for. Keep in mind, so it's gonna take like 5 young players. And Jeff Moss tweeted a screenshot of Greg Krupa's tweet, Holland expecting a minimum of 2, maybe 4 or 5 guys on the roster next season that were not on the roster at the start of the season. Going forward, we are about younger players. And Moss said, with added job security, I could see Holland totally tanking next year. Rasmussen, Chalowski, the number 1 pick, Hicketts, Svechnikov, Hronek, all on the team in an effort to get Crosby, McDavid, and then Jack Hughes.
basically what he's describing Jack Hughes as a potential, next in line of the next great talent to take over the league. What we're seeing currently with Crosby and McDavid is what he was referring to.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, again, the 2-year extension, like we talked about before, it's prior to the time the new Seattle NHL expansion franchise opens in the fall of 2020. And Holland, again, at the top of the list of candidates for the Seattle GM gig, this would be a perfect fit. Like I said with Buck Gino, I talked about it, and he told me that Seattle is going to be looking for a GM in 2019 in the 2019 offseason, but that's why Ken Holland has to take part in listening in to Seattle's offer.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll listen. I think what they'll do, since it's a new expansion team, they want to get everything set out in motion beforehand. That's why they wanted to get basically a year head start on their GM search. Get them the chance to properly and fairly vet out all the other candidates. It has been mentioned before, like you just said, about how it could be a good spot for Holland, for himself personally. I was a little bit taken aback, but for a couple of reasons. When you told me about this news, I was like, oh shit, we got to deal with this idiot for another 2 more years. But after seeing more of the details come out and the tweet you just mentioned, and the whole thing with Seattle, I do understand. Gradually, I've begun to understand the reasoning why. And, I made a couple of tweets in anger about it that got some mentions, notifications, and all of that, because I think it was a good representation of the anger and the bitterness that Wings fans have gone through over the past few years of saying, the move on the surface seemed like they were ignoring what some fans were calling to attention for a need to properly rebuild. But after the details that you just presented me, I'm a little bit more closer to the 50-50 of being optimistic about it. I still want to see what happens. But hearing and seeing this possible evidence of Holland maybe having a change of heart. Because remember, this is a guy who once said that, this is a man's league. It's not about young kids. And it takes 10 to 15 years for a proper rebuild. Him to...
I guess all that's changed.
Yeah, essentially doing an about-face on this was quite surprising. Who knows? Maybe it is for the Seattle job. Maybe that offer on the table of him, basically being kicked upwards on the whole promotion thing, like they tried to do with, when they tried to make Eisman his successor. Maybe that's still on the table, and they just got to find someone else to do it. Who knows? But I figured, right, once you, and to piggyback what you just said about, if you're not going to get rid of Holland, it wouldn't make sense to get rid of the coach too. If you're going to do a full clean house rebuild, you got to, the go-to protocol would be new coach and new GM, both at once. So I guess what it means is, they're going to ride this out, and with when the extensions eventually expire, then they'll, come to that bridge on what to do afterwards. But, at least seeing this, like I said, this possible blueprint of, hey, they're actually going forward on this whole rebuild scenario. I mean, the 5 young players alone, that gives us some optimism of, yeah, hey, they're actually going to tank. And I'll give them credit and awareness on this. They're not being outwardly blatant, but there are signs of, yes, we know this rebuild is going to suck, but as long as the fans, hold steady through it, we will be rewarded through it. I very much like that approach, other than the bullshit that the Tigers are trying to spin. But we'll get to them in a little bit later. But yeah, it's just something that came to my attention.
Yep. And fans are entitled to their anger, and they know how they feel. I cannot deny it. Considering all the information that we retain in terms of tanking, that's what we want the fans to root for. Tanking, their own personal revenge against the owners and GMs that do not care about what the fans have to say. You blend that in, you call for major tanking, and it just might happen even more.
Yeah, I mean, listen, unless there's some type of actual reform that's done where harsh penalties are enforced that seems to do this process, tank is going to be around for a long time. It's been here long before, you and I were born, and it's going to keep going and going now until somebody steps in. But until that day happens, we're just going to see this continuously being repeated, not just in hockey, but across all pro sports. So, but we've seen evidence before, of if you tank the right way, you will be rewarded. Whether it be the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, now what we're seeing with the Philadelphia 76ers, it has its instances where tanking does give you the rich benefits in the end. So, like I said, it comes down to patience and, just that building period. So that's all we can do is just wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can patiently wait. I can patiently wait personally, and but I cannot personally wait for that rebuild to start and for the tanking to start as well. Speaking of which,
Left sideline, 3, and he answers.
there was an article that I ran into from ESPN, from the Associated Press, headlining Tom Gores to meet with Stan Van Gundy to discuss the Pistons' future. It says the Pistons need changes and will meet with Stan Van Gundy. The third paragraph says Gores said changes need to be made because the team isn't winning enough, adding that none will happen until he speaks with Van Gundy. The two are expected to meet next week, this is on April 9th. That was Monday earlier. Of course, the injuries, but moving to Gores and Van Gundy, Gores isn't necessarily against allowing Van Gundy to lead both the front office and the bench. He said, quote, "I see value in the front office and the court being connected." In terms of Van Gundy being the president and the head coach, the Pistons made a major move getting Blake Griffin. Gores defended the deal, saying the franchise now has a superstar. He also said Van Gundy didn't make the move without input from him. Gores said, quote, there's not a big move that Stan made without me. That's with Tom Gores' approval. They had to give up Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, and Boban Marjanovic, their true center, and possibly Michigan State's Miles Bridges.
Well, of course, that's assuming Bridges gets taken.
The 12th overall pick.
Right. So what you're saying is, because I remember reading something on Wikipedia that it was listed as a top 4 protected pick. So if the Pistons finished in the top 4, make sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this, if the Pistons would have finished in the top 4 of the lottery, would that mean that pick is still theirs, or would it still go to LA regardless?
It would still go to LA regardless because it's part of the Griffin trade.
Okay. So all the Pistons only have 1 draft pick this year, correct?
In any round, yeah. It's just not in the first round. That's what Bleacher Report is projecting. They were projecting the Pistons to trade the 12th overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft to the Clippers as part of the Griffin trade, which is projecting to be Miles Bridges of the Michigan State Spartans. We're going to get to them next, and then we'll get to the Tigers. So you give him away along with Bradley, Marjanovic, and Harris, especially a backup center in Marjanovic. I know he doesn't play too good a defense, but still, he's a major rebounder. He can score.
Yeah, and obviously, backup scoring from your bigs is what you desperately needed when all you had were just Drummond and Griffin. You still needed more offensive production from your backup bigs, which is why I think they should probably try to consider targeting that as much as they can, whether it be draft or free agency. Obviously, between that, needing to find more wings to help with their wing depth because they gave up a lot in that Blake trade, and I would still not mind because I don't think with what they have with Jameer Nelson and the lot, I don't think that's their true backup point guard that can score. Yeah, they have Ish, but he's more of that facilitator, whose best offensive capabilities would be driving to the rim. Ish does not have a jump shot. So if you were going to get a backup point guard who knows how to score, you would preferably have to find one that has a moderately good jump shot. So that could give that good complement, that good balance between what Ish brings with his assisting and with Reggie. Whenever Reggie's not feeling it or he's not available, you still need that second point guard off the bench that can help with your offense in terms of scoring production. I also mentioned the wings. I think you got to find another shooting guard that can give you good points off the bench as well. Kennard, he's decent, but like I said, it's going to be, unless he blossoms fast, it's going to be forever looked upon as a dumb pick that we took this guy over Donovan Mitchell, who may be the rookie of the year and a potential superstar of his own. So the Pistons have definitely got to get some help on that end as well. So, like I said, backup point guard, better depth with your wings, and a true backup center that can help score off the bench would be my main areas of the pinpoint what the Pistons can do for this offseason.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see what happens in the offseason. Right when Gores and Van Gundy meet in their own front office. So, speaking of the Spartans, oh, for God's sakes. That piece of shit motherfucker.
Valentine for the win!
Three unnamed Michigan State Spartan players were accused of rape in 2015, according to a lawsuit from the Detroit Free Press from Chris Solari. Those three players were unnamed. And I sent the article to you early on. They were raping a woman in 2015. She remains a student at MSU. Says the lawsuit says the woman was having a difficult time holding her glass. She did not have a lot to drink, accepted a ride to the party from two players, and then she was feeling discombobulated, forcefully thrown face down onto the bed, and held so she could not move while the second player raped her from behind.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, crap. My damn speaker's going off. Just a minute here. All right. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulties. The first player and a third player took turns raping her after the second player finished. She claims she does not remember anything until waking up on a couch a few hours later, then called a taxi back to her dorm. Then her roommate told her she did not know about a party. The woman reported the rape to a counselor at the Michigan State University Counseling Center on April 20th, 2015, and completed an initial intake and assessment. It was not clear whether bringing the extra person into the room violated federal health and wellness privacy laws. There's a whole lot that the lawsuit listed. So it had something to do with Title IX, but more MSU basketball players getting in trouble. 3 unnamed from 2015 that just adds to the entire list of sexual assault from basketball players and football players, but especially basketball players.
Bring up the question of what did he know and when did he know it?
Yeah.
This marks now, the third rape allegation involving the basketball program since 2010? 3 rape allegations in 8 years? Good God. But it's not just Izzo and the basketball program. It's or even the athletic program. It's about the whole damn school and how they, whether you like it or not, or you try to discredit and spin, all this going on as fake news or whatever. I'm specifically referring to whether parties like Valeni try to attack the validity because they don't like what ESPN reported. Well, it's not just ESPN that was reporting on this. You got the Freak. So what? You're going to get pissed at them now? Okay? Because let's not be forgotten that MSU was taken to court by ESPN over not properly handing over information regarding this, and they lost ESPN in court. Okay, so if you want to get I don't see Valeni talking about that shit or this situation coming about right here. Because
he's a coward.
Yeah, but that goes beyond him. He's just a minor insect in this whole gigantic play.
Right.
What the whole main issue is, there is a massive problem, a complete erosion of this will fall under the category of lack of institutional control if there ever was one. The thing is, the NCAA is so ass backwards that it would look incredibly foolish and hypocritical for them trying to lay down sanctions on the school when they themselves apparently were made aware of these type of things as early as 2010, and they did nothing to act upon them. So it's a whole mess up situation that needs, even if it requires assistance from the federal government to properly look into this independently, so be it. But it's worth noting that, you brought up Title IX. I believe if you remember when the ESPN report broke in January, it specifically mentioned Deborah Russo Martinez, who was in the Title IX office, who told the young woman who was raped by Adrian Payne and Keith Appling, not to go forward with her charges, saying she wasn't strong enough. What type of shit is that to say to someone who survived a horrific ordeal? Is that you're not strong enough to go forward with the proceedings? Like, really? Just, oh my goodness. So, that person, I believe, is still, as of this recording, that as far as I know of, is still working with the Title IX office. Now, if I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me, but that's just a glaring, significant, symbolic problem of what's going on. Not just with MSU, but with all across, as we have seen with Penn State and Baylor, and I'm sure it's not just those 3 schools in particular. There's a wide-ranging problem of what sexual assaults happening on college campuses, and even beyond that, as we've seen in entertainment and politics and whoever and wherever. It's an epidemic, period. And changes need to be made. Changes need to come, and we have to move on and be better than this, and ensure shit like this. You can't say you can't erase it completely, but you gotta make sure that this gets phased down and out as much as possible, so that the next time someone tries something as despicable as this, they will be handled quite well.
Of course, Tom Izzo's not going to handle anything well, because he's just going to keep deflecting and standing his ground 100%. Same with this damn school, Michigan State University.
This thing, if these stories keep piling up and building up, you won't have to worry about defending anything because he'll be out of a fucking job. So there you go.
Yeah, he might be forced to resign. He may be forced to tap out, submit.
Right. I mean, hell, Paterno didn't get the courtesy of being resigned. They just fired his ass.
Yeah.
So Izzo should count his lucky blessings that they haven't considered that yet.
Right. Still haven't won a national championship since 2000 anyway. He's made a few Final Four appearances, but this year, round of 32 against Syracuse, that'll add insult to injury, personally. So
it was quite interesting. It was quite interesting that, while we're on the brief subject of that, we saw, if you remember, all the reports of the scandals and, whether in regards to Louisville or some of these other schools, they either did not make the tournament, even though they were a bubble team, or in the case of MSU, who's dealing with their own set of scandal, got ousted very early on and was, obviously, with them losing essentially a home game to an 11 seed who had to get in via a play-in game. Almost you could argue didn't deserve to be there to begin with, but hey, they got there and they did what they needed to do. MSU, they shit the bed, and that's on them. So it was quite interesting to see all that transpire in regards as a fallout to all of these scandals and investigations, and it's just a whole sordid, colluded mess.
Let's keep them coming. So, back to college sports in a minute, but first,
That one is long gone.
The Indians sweep the Tigers with a 9-3 win earlier on Thursday. Indians improved to 8-5. Tigers now dropped to 4-8 in a tie for third place with the Chicago White Sox in the AL Comedy Central Division. White Sox hold that tiebreaker with a road record of 3-3 compared to the Tigers' 3-4 record. And that, I guess that's the only tiebreaker that I'm aware of that the White Sox hold. The only factor in that held tiebreaker for the White Sox over the Tigers. But that's an advantage for the tanking process. Again, another team another major professional sports team in Detroit that needs tanking. Again, like the Red Wings, the Tigers. Ed, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. It's nice to know that after some brief concerns, them trying to start winning games, they've quickly come back to earth, and now we're experiencing this losing stretch. And this is also another good thing that they're facing, head and shoulders above the best team in the division. It's not saying much because, like you said, it's AL Comedy Central. But the Indians, they've been a title contender for the past couple of years now. Almost won the World Series last year. Should have beat the Yankees in the ALDS last
2 years ago, rather.
Yeah, you're correct. My apologies. 2016, and then last year should have beat the Yankees in the ALDS, then they choked. But still, the Indians are a good team, and like I said, they should be able to win this division with ease, hands down. And they should have a lot of fun making the Tigers their bitch again this year. So that will go a long way towards, like I said, I've started a hashtag on Twitter, the hashtag March to 100 losses. Fans need to embrace this tank. I even had a brief Twitter chat with a fan that quite, I guess didn't like how cheerful I was at seeing some of the losses. I was like, hey, listen, the quicker this gets done, the more you will enjoy the payoff later when we get the pieces that we need as a result of this tanking. And he was trying to respond to me, listen, I've seen enough losing. I don't want to see this anymore. And I sympathize with him greatly. Because it was essentially a point where, like a method that I brought up to you a little while back of how fans in the city are so championship starved for a World Series title, they're willing to accept it by any means necessary, even if it meant dealing with an idiot like Brad Austin as their manager. Now they got the old Gardenheimer, but listen, the way this team is currently set up, it's just not possible unless a major, gigantic overhaul happens via a monster blockbuster trade and things will have to start picking up. But I just don't see that happening for at least another 2, if not 3 more years. And that's for them, and that's just, contending for the Central, let alone contending for a World Series title. But you got to go through this now, so that way when the profits eventually come through and cash up at the end, you'll feel more better going through it. I mean, I brought up the other examples before of how teams that tanked, again, it's not always a success, but whenever it does, it works greatly to one's benefit. I've listed them before: Houston, San Antonio, what we're seeing right now with the Sixers. So it is possible to replicate the same thing. Obviously, much different sport, much different terms and philosophies and whatnot, but it is possible. It is doable. The San Diego Padres, they've been taking for a while. Now they're starting to be on the up and up. So that could be an example you could use as a base model for what the Tigers need to do. And I think with them being probably in a little bit, even if not better market, having a better, chance, to probably fluctuate how they can do their spending and whatnot. the Tigers could use that model and improve on it.
Mm-hmm. Then they'll then when Garbage Fire's 3-year contract expires at the end of 2020, the Tigers can start being a contender again as long as they hire a smarter manager that knows sabermetrics and has a sense of urgency, for God's sake, like Jeff Moss pointed out. So that's going to do it for Tigers. Now we have 2 teams left to cover, and that's going to be the Michigan Wolverines.
Touchdown, Michigan!
Quarterback Wilton Speight is going to transfer to UCLA. And that has a lot of effect on the Shea Patterson appearance. Perhaps you pointed it out earlier off the air. So
I mentioned not, there could be he may have heard some. Since he's closer to the situation than any of us, he may be hearing some murmurs that hey, Shea's going to get the go ahead, or the combination of Patterson, he's going to be on the depth chart no matter what, and Brandon Peters and Dylan McCaffrey. It's going to be a loaded dogfight to see who gets that starting QB spot this year. So instead of trying to convolute and complicate it even more, Wilton said, hey, I'm just going to make this easy for you guys. And you saw a perfect spot in UCLA. Josh Rosen is going to the NFL. They're going to need a QB. That's a good spot for Wilton Speight to step into. And hats off to him. I hope he does well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they canceled their spring game due to cold weather conditions, apparently snow. So, just an update.
I get it. You know what? I knew if things were better, sure. After coming off a bad season, quote unquote, but from last season, and then trying to drag the fans all out through bad weather conditions just to see a meaningless spring game. I understand the reasoning behind it. Obviously critics are going to use this to take their pot shots in Michigan, which is expected. You see Sparty slaps trying to say, hey, we're going to have more people than you did. Well, 34 people is nothing to be proud of. You got Ohio State idiots.
Yeah, that doesn't even matter. None of this even matters.
Right, you got Ohio State idiots saying, listen, we're going to still put our game on, and, we don't care the weather. Okay, good luck. And if a fucking lightning strikes your stadium, who's going to be responsible? Okay. And then SEC slaps trying to talk shit. I'm like, stop it. All right, really? Like this Peter Burns asshole on ESPN trying to, might be 48 degrees and Michigan cancels a spring game with a Big Sean gift. Go fuck yourself, dude.
All right. They still had to cancel it due to cold weather conditions. That's just the point. It has nothing to do with any other rival team or whatever. It's just you get that one going.
But of course these assholes won't.
Right. That's why ESPN is like.
Yeah, that's why ESPN.
Yep, I'm echoing again.
Chance, like I said, beat their chests about the good old SEC. They'll do that, even if it's at the expense of another team. So.
Yep, but especially, I was going to say, like as urinating tree would put it, ESPN is an association of lolcows.
Yeah, they got their problems. There's no doubt about that, unfortunately. And I like the network, but there's no denying that's not the tight ship it used to be.
Right, that's why its ratings went down. So, just got one team left to cover, and that's the Lions.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
How about this? And I mentioned this to you in the comment. It's quite, I think it's been said before, not just by me, but I'm sure by a couple other people in this town. in months past or even a year or so ago. It's quite sad and quite a bizarre world type of situation when the only team in Detroit pro sports right now that has the best chance of any semblance of a promising future is the fucking Lions. That's
Everyone knows that.
That's crazy by even uttering that sentence.
Yep. What I did want to point out to our audience is the Lions released their 2018 NFL preseason schedule. Week 1 is against the Oakland Raiders. I'm not sure if it's at home or on the road. I'm going to look it up real quick on DetroitLions.com, newDetroitLions.com.
Right.
Schedule and events.
While you do, I would assume that the third game will be at home and it'll probably get a good primetime spotlight like they usually do.
Yeah, got the season schedule. I would have to go to NFL.com. Oh God, preseason schedule. Got to look it the fuck up real quick. Oh God, go to news. This is episode 2 of the midweek edition on Spreaker. Taylor Phillips and Ed Smith. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. And follow our show on Twitter at Michigan_Truth. And like and share the Michigan Sports Truth Facebook page. Oh, there we go. NFL releases 65-game preseason in 2018. Week 1, Detroit Lions versus Oakland Raiders. That's August 9th through 13th. I believe, I don't know, that it's saying versus and versus, or that they're not saying at.
Well, it's interesting. Like if
Lions at Raiders. Lions at Raiders. I just saw the video. Got it.
Nice.
All right. So there you go. It's at the Oakland Raiders. So we got that out of the way. So that's all the teams we covered. So
what was the rest of the Lions preseason schedule? Like who the teams they'll be facing?
I couldn't get that. Let me go ahead and.
I can try to find on my Twitter real quick.
Week 2, Giants and Lions, and then Lions and Buccaneers in Week 3, August 24th on CBS, and then the Lions are home against the Cleveland Browns in Week 4.
I guess the fourth game will be the dress rehearsal game. Will be the fourth game, I guess. I don't know. Because usually the dress rehearsal games are the third game, but I'm used to seeing those at home. But yeah, the only home games are going to be the Giants and the Browns, and the road games will be the Raiders and the Bucks.
Yeah, apparently. So, that's episode 2 of the midweek edition. No segments for this episode, unfortunately. So, Ed, nice job, as always.
And nice job for you as well, even dealing with all these technical issues.
Yep,
real proud
thanks.
of you.
Absolutely. Yep. And I'll talk to you next week in episode 3 of the midweek.
No problem. Take care. And by the way, it's now April the 13th officially. It's past midnight on the East Coast.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Taylor.
Thank you, Ed. I'm now turning 34.
How about that? 1 year older, 1 year wiser.
Yep. Thanks. Yep. With wisdom comes compassion.
Absolutely.
Yep. Get some rest. Yep.
You too, man. Happy birthday.
Yep. Thanks. Before we sign off, we want to remind everyone in our audience to share this episode and our entire podcast on social media and have their friends share that as well, because we want to tell them that the Michigan Sports Truth podcast is searching for a wider local audience that is fans of sports. So please spread the word about the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, its Facebook page, and its Twitter handle at Michigan_Truth. I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips and Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313. We'll talk to you next week on episode 3 of the midweek edition. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, and sharing. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The hosts of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast do not take any suggestions or criticism from any member of its audience on how it should be run. It is up to the host to decide what they want to cover. They also do not intend to be any amount of popular in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Additionally, the views of the audience, right or wrong, do not reflect the actual truth revealed on this program.
And mission complete.